bespoke component or a custom component. Really typical kind of thing an architect might design to put a signature on a building, especially at the entry condition. Here's just a real world example of that on the right here. So very common, a steel structure and then maybe glass in order to allow light through. We're going to do something similar. And we're going to start with making this kind of a rib system. So I'm going to bounce out to Revit. And we'll take a look at where we're going to be building that just to get an idea of the size of things. We know that the distance between these two pieces of brick are now 16 feet because we have a 20-foot module and we know we were 2 feet and 2 feet on both sides. And the depth is, this is a 20-foot bay, so if we were to have it touching the wall and wanted to stick out a little bit, we might want it to be 20 to 22 feet. So I'm going to use 16 by 22 as our guide for the size of this. If we were to look at this from a front elevation also, this is 8 feet here. We might want this thing to be up about 12 feet. So I'm going to use that also as a vertical guide. The way we're going to construct this is to actually make a model, a generic model that we will import into this file. So we'll be working on the awning as a separate file and just importing it like you would a chair or a door or any other kind of family object. So let's get started. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to New, Family, and in the family templates, I'm going to go to English Imperial, and we're going to go down until we find generic, and we're going to grab generic model. There's also a floor-based one, which would probably be fine, but I'm going to just use the generic model. I think it'll function exactly the same way. I'll get my big head out of the way so we can click open. And now we're looking at this in model space, looking at it from a reference level of a floor plan. So we want to get those kind of guides of that 16 by 22. So under Create, I'm going to make some reference lines. So I'm just going to draw 2 reference lines right away here. I'm going to take off the chain command. I'm going to draw that one and then delete it. All right, and I'll get rid of this. Sorry about that. Let's make sure that this is 11 feet away. And this one we want to be 8 feet. So 11 is half of 22 and 8 is half of 16. And then we can just mirror these. I'm just drawing the axis of them. And then we use the join command to make our volume. And we could have done that probably a whole host of different ways. But now we have a reference kind of outlining the size of the envelope of the awning we want to construct. And this is just working in plan view right now. We really also want to work in elevation. So I'm going to go to the front view of this. And you'll notice we're not getting any indications of anything in the vertical direction. So let's go ahead now, go back to Create, and make a reference line up here. I'm going to pull this one out to be 16. And you'll notice it's only 8 feet at this point, and we'll change this to 12 feet. And I'll just use the move command to get this centered. And then we might want to put a couple more reference lines in for the side volumes. So I'll just draw a reference line coming down this way. I really meant for that one to come all the way down. And I'll just mirror it over. And so now we have our volume in the elevation direction. So we're going to start our arc up here at the top. So I'm going to go to Create. I'm going to do an extrusion. It's going to start at 0 inches and go to a foot. That's going to be way too thick. So we're going to make this maybe 1/2 inch. Excuse me. And we're going to draw an arc. So I'll come in here, and this is really kind of arbitrary. Let's say we'll come down about 2 feet. I'll come over to this side, 2 feet, and then I'll just spring this arch, or spring that arc up that way. Okay, so that's a start. Let's say we need a little flatness on the sides. Come down 6 inches. I'll do the same thing over here, and we need another arc. And I'm not going to come up quite as much. I want it to be kind of like a sprung arch. So that one radius is just a little bit less. And we can click Complete. And we can go and look at this at the reference level. And we're not seeing anything because it's not showing in the reference level. So let's just go right to a 3D view here. And we can see our arc created in that volume that we set out. So I'd like to make this a little more decorative. So I'm going to put some, and actually besides being decorative, reduce the weight of it. So I'm going to put some holes in this. So we'll go back to the front. I'll double click on this. And remember, anytime we want to create voids, we can just start drawing those in the object that we're working on. So I'll make that one 6 inches, and then I'll just make a few more here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and let's see if I can put one in here. Okay, so I just drew those kind of arbitrary, but just for the sake of being expedient. And I'm just going to mirror those over. So I'm going to select them, pick my mirror line, and now I have them on the other side. I'll click complete, and we'll go ahead and we'll look at that from a 3D view again. I've got to figure out what my 3D view is, view 1. And there we have it with holes in it. The only thing we haven't assigned, and we want to do this now because we're going to get ready to copy this, is give it some sort of a material. And so I'll create a new material. And I'll just right click and rename it, and I'll call it rib material. And make it, I'm not going to put an image in it. Let me cancel out of that, sorry. I'm just going to give it a color. So I'll select on this as soon as I get on the right screen. And we'll make it a grayish, a light gray. We could make this a metal chrome finish, which would look really nice. The problem is that it doesn't, in normal rendering, chrome surfaces, since they have to reflect light, they'll turn black in non-ray traced renderings, which I'll try to explain more in our lecture. So I'll hit apply to that, and OK. And now we have a material to that. And now let's just make some duplicates of this. So I'm going to go back to the reference level. Actually, I can't go back to the reference level, so I'll do a little hack here. I'll just go to the top view of this one. And I'll come in and I'll grab that. I don't want to grab the reference line. I want to grab the rib itself. There we go. I've got the generic model rib. And I'm going to use the copy and move command. And I'm going to take off the constraint because that's not going to allow me to, otherwise I can't move it in the vertical direction. And I'm just going to offset these by 5 feet. And I'll put multiple on so we can make a couple of copies of it. So we'll come to 5 feet here. And then I'll make another one at 5 feet. And then I'll do the same thing going down. So generic model, copy. Oops, take the constraint off. 5 feet. 5 feet. All right, we haven't saved this with a name. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to File, Save as a Family. We want to save it in our CV5, and we'll call it the awning. Oops. And let's go ahead and load that into the project. I see I have another file, the old curb file open, but I want to just load it into the site. I'll click OK. Let's go to the site view, and then I'll just place this. So remember, I've got that hanging off just a little bit. So I'll place it right there, aligned up like that, nice and crisp in there. And click Done. Go to Modify. And then let's go to the model view and see what it looks like. And there we have it placed. It looks a little bit low to me. I'm going to go to the south elevation. And that's really fine. So we're all set with making the start of our awning. In the next clip, we'll start adding glass and that edge gutter to it.